Speaking of brainless, irresponsible children, the president's son could be in deep yogurt. New emails show the Secret Service may have protected the Biden family during Hunter's 2018 gun fiasco. That's when Hunter's girlfriend, also his dead brother's widow, reportedly ditched his .38 caliber handgun in a grocery store trash can. How responsible. At the time, the Bidens were not receiving Secret Service protection. House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer calls the whole thing bizarre. Watch.
There are numerous instances where the Secret Service always showed up to try to help Hunter Biden. It's bizarre, and this is another set of questions that Joe Biden needs to come forward and be transparent, not just with the American people, but especially with the House Oversight Committee, because we have a major investigation here, and the Secret Service are now a part of it.
All right, we'll talk about strange bedfellows. Why would the Secret Service protect Hunter back in 2018? Maybe I should ask the woman who wrote the book on it, Miranda Devine.
Well, look, in one instance to do with a hotel in LA, there were two people that have been described as Secret Service agents. In fact, one of them had just retired and one had retired sometime earlier and had been part of Joe Biden's vice presidential detail. So I think we get some clues from the laptop into how Joe Biden sort of cemented these loyalties from the Secret Service agents who worked for him. He got their children into, military colleges or universities that they wanted. He did favours, the kind of favours that someone in power is able to do. And at one point, one of these Secret Service agents was actually paid, well, supposedly paid, wasn't paid actually, sent a bill for his services to Jim Biden and Hunter Biden, which hadn't been paid for several months. So perhaps there was some former Secret Service agents posing as current Secret Service agents. They do have badges that are supposed to be different but might look similar. That might explain the discrepancy between the Secret Service swearing blind that nobody in their service went to that gun store and tried to take away the paperwork that showed that Hunter Biden had actually lied on his background check form when he said that he didn't take drugs. Now, that's a big problem for Hunter Biden criminally. People have gone to jail for that. So if anything is ever done about it, it would be a problem for him. And so that's why they'd want to get rid of it. Otherwise, there is some deep corruption going on in the Secret Service because they have denied this. And if they were somehow helping the president, or the former vice president then, that would be very wrong.
So are there people who get special protection, Scott?
Oh, yeah. I mean, Glenn Greenwald wrote a book about 10 years ago about the just absolutely two-tiered justice system where the very rich and government employees have a whole separate system of law for them. And we should specify here, guns and drugs, possession, these are just offenses, right? There's no real crime here, as detestable as Hunter is and whatever business dealings he may have done. But on this, these are just offenses. But us regular people, mundanes, as the great Will Grigg used to call us, people go to prison for decades sometimes over the combination of possession of guns and drugs.
Yes.
And remember, John McCain's wife had this elaborate scheme to get prescription pain pills. And, there are regular people. Some guy's mom right now is doing 20 years in the penitentiary for that same kind of thing. That kind of law would never apply to Cindy McCain the way she and her family and the Bidens and people like that apply these laws to us.
I don't know. Don't be too hard on Cindy McCain. She's a good person and has dedicated a lot of her life to the service of others, especially those less fortunate. And she has spoken out
because she wasn't locked in prison.
Quite coherently about her own issues with drug addiction and overcoming that. So I'm going to give her a little bit more credit than that. But Kevin, we should all be...
She had an opportunity because she wasn't locked up because she was a senator's wife.
Well, perhaps. But now she's not. She's a widow. So, Kevin, there certainly are two tiers of justice in this country, and it would be nice for a lot of normies to have that sort of intercession, but we don't get to enjoy those benefits.
We are absolutely in agreement that there are two tiers of justice in this system. I think, James Comer, if he wants to, can subpoena the Secret Service. It's a government agency, and I hope there's oversight, and that's Congress's role. But seemingly, I think James Comer is over his skis quite a bit on this stuff. He's publishing reports from Judicial Watch about these emails. I take anything from Judicial Watch with a huge grain of salt, as most Americans should. Again, subpoena the records if they're there. The Secret Service denied that this ever took place.
Judicial Watch, in their defense, do file a lot of FOIA requests.
But that wasn't part of a FOIA request.
That oftentimes
there's no FOIA request as part of this.
It's a FOIA request.
That's not what these emails came from. Was a FOIA request? Absolutely not.
Yes, they are.
Miranda, no, not with this specific incident, with these agents going back and forth.
Yes, they are. It's a FOIA request that Judicial Watch just received. The emails between various Secret Service members talking about this incident, sending each other clips from the media about it, and saying, "Oh, so we're doing favours now."
Oh,
that's exactly what this is.
The plot thickens. The yogurt is deep.
They would have mentioned that in all of the news reporting, Miranda, and they haven't in any of the news reporting that I've seen. That's a FOIA request.
The failing New York Slimes.
Just go to Judicial Watch website.
Okay, I'm going to during the break because we have to get to it right now. Party panel, thank you so much, Miranda, Kevin, and Scott.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Kennedy.